I guess that you could say that, yes, that person has very French style or very American style. But I think it can be confining in the sense of like, this person is in a box now that we have defined. And maybe French style can be more than the classic colors and, you know, very neutral palettes. French style can be much more than that, if we allow ourselves to look around at all the different places in France and see how they dress. And same with American style. You know, some people might think it's very fleeting or that it just follows the trends and it's gone, but there's a lot of things that are culturally influential. And I think it's interesting to allow ourselves to be, we can be both very classic at times, but we can also try out new trends and be experimental. I think it's cool to break down those boxes and allow yourself to be whatever you feel like being in that day.
Hi, welcome back to Women Inc. Talk. In today's episode, we're going to have Gioya, my dear friend from the US, and we're going to discuss about French versus American style, and we will dive more into a conversation about fashion is a freedom of expression. For anyone who is interested, please stay tuned. Hi, Gioya.
Hi, Tanisha.
How are you?
Great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, please introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Gioya. I'm an American. I live currently in Dallas, Texas, but I'm from California. I met Tanisha actually in Lyon when I was studying French there. So it's really nice. I mean, it's been almost 4 years since then. So it's really awesome to get to talk to you again.
Since you have lived a bit in France, I mean, you know, like French fashion, and obviously you are integrated with the American style. So, could you please define what do you think about French and American style?
Okay. I think it's hard to do because, you know, France and America are so large. But if I had to kind of narrow it down, French fashion is very like neutral colors, very elegant and classic silhouettes and fabrics. So things that are very timeless and look good on anyone. In America, I definitely feel like it's a little more experimental, a little more trendy. We opt for brighter colors sometimes, or follow a trend that might leave in the next few years versus being extremely timeless, as I feel like in general, French fashion is used.
I see. So, the differences would be one is more timeless and the other one is more trendy and experimental. So,
Yeah.
how do you define chic and elegant? Because I believe that in France and in US, according to your opinion, it will be different, no?
Yeah, so definitely it can be different. I think elegant is pretty much the same. I would say very high quality fabrics, high quality silhouettes, fabrics, very classic and elegant. I would say that those might be the same, but I feel like chic is very close to elegant in French culture, whereas in American culture, chic can be maybe a little more trendy, a little more something that's out of the box and a little bit different than something that's traditionally classic, but still very high quality. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to follow the exact same classic silhouettes that you might see as something that's elegant in France, for example.
Ah, I see. What about like Emily in Paris?
Yeah, totally. I totally watched the whole thing, binge watched the whole thing.
Okay, so what do you think about Emily's fashion? Does American dress like that, or what do you think?
I think it's definitely exaggerated. There are some things that she wears, and I'm like, man, like, no, no one would ever wear that. But I think it does kind of exaggerate the fact that maybe New York fashion or big city fashion. She's supposed to be from Chicago, I think. Is much more, yes, trendy. Or maybe this is this idea of designer clothing that Emily has, and she thinks that Paris might be like. But I feel like in general, uh, I mean, yes, we are definitely much more colorful, bright, and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely think Emily in Paris has exaggerated it quite a bit.
I see. Okay. So, what does the American or French wear normally in a daily basis, actually?
I would say, just from my little experience in France, I would say it kind of follows the same idea that French people will on a daily basis wear like a lot of black. I always notice like no color or very neutral colors. So camel colored, navy, white, um, very like muted palettes. Um, and again, very classic silhouettes. So things that you could see 10 years ago or 10 years from now, and it's still going to look very timeless, elegant, classic, still going to look good. And maybe there will be a small twist on something classic, like maybe there will be something small that's um, like a statement. But American, I think that we pull a lot more influence, for example, from hip hop culture or from sports culture. So you might see basketball shoes a little bit more, or you might see jerseys a little bit more, or you might see things that famous celebrities in the U.S. might wear. For example, Kim Kardashian Skims or something like that. So a little more, again, same kind of theme, experimental, a lot more trendy on the American side in general on a daily basis, versus those very classic everyday staples. I think there is a little bit of a stereotype in terms of like Americans will wear their pajama pants out or sneakers out or things like that. I don't think it's always that extreme. However, I do think that we wear a lot more comfortable things like sweatpants outside of the house, and not necessarily as a fashion statement. But in some cases, for example, it can be. But yes, there is a lot of loungewear, and it's interesting that you mentioned the social media part of it and influencers. I do see a little bit of a gap closing on French and American cultures because we see fashion on both sides now. It's a little more open, but definitely, I agree.
So, what about the differences on the makeup? What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah, what do
I've
you
definitely noticed a difference. So hanging out with French girls, I think I notice a lot more minimal makeup. Typically, something that's very more enhancing of the natural features, an eyebrow mascara, maybe some tinted moisturizer and a lip. And then if maybe it's a night out, go with a bold lip instead. Um, so again, very classic. I feel like in America, especially with all the makeup artists that are on like Instagram and all that, there's a lot more artistic, experimental, very bright colored makeup looks, and you will see that out, in when you're out on the streets or when you're out at night, maybe at a bar or something like that, that the makeup will be much more dramatic or much more colorful. Um, yeah, so just that difference between the very classic look and the very bright. However, I do think that America is starting to trend a little bit closer to the French style with a lot more skincare based stuff now. Um, so I'm starting to see that trend, like we're following a little bit more closely to maybe that European French style girl who is very natural and cares about her skin and all that stuff, is becoming more trendy in the US.
okay? I see. In France, does it influences your fashion style, and how do you define fashion?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that it's influenced my style. I even think not just France, living in France, but for example, meeting you, for example, someone who's from another country and you meet them in another place. And then I get influenced. I get so much inspiration from, all the countries that I've lived in, but also more importantly, the people that I see and the people that I meet. I think that it's influenced me to try and get pieces that are going to last me a long time, that are going to always look good. But also to try things that are new for me, even if maybe I don't feel comfortable with it. So I think that that's how it's influenced me. In terms of defining fashion, I would definitely say it's the tools that we use to express ourselves through our clothes, through our looks. Um, but it's our job to figure out what our style is. So I think that fashion is very big and it can be intimidating, but when you try out new things, you get to know yourself a little bit better and you can really find your own personal style. People can think that, oh, it's not important or it's just what you're wearing and it's not a big deal. And I think there's a balance on everything. So there's a balance between, yes, wear whatever you want and try different things and you don't have to take it too seriously, but also being 100% comfortable in wearing those things that you're wearing and choosing to wear it. That's a big deal. And being able to feel comfortable and beautiful and happy with what you're wearing, um, is a big deal. And I think that it can have a big effect on your mental state. It can have a big effect on, if I feel comfortable in the situation and what I'm wearing, do I feel comfortable speaking my opinions? Um, I know that that might seem like a very big line to make, but I think that fashion can definitely do that for you.
Okay. So basically, for you, style or fashion is a way of knowing yourself as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think we learn how we like to express ourselves. How do we feel good, and how do we show that to the world?
So do you think is it a form of self-expression or freedom of expression?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that we're in a time where we have the most freedom to express ourselves via our clothes. 100 years ago, a lot of the things would be very scandalous, and now we can wear them with ease, and it's very, very accepted. So I really like that we can use this as a tool to truly express ourselves in the way that we think of ourselves and the way that we think of others.
Okay, nice. So, do you agree that fashion is a personal thing? For instance, we could be whoever we want according what we wear, and we we don't need necessarily to be afraid to be labeled or judged by anyone else.
Yeah, totally. So I know that we talked a lot about, French style and American style. But I definitely think that it would be more helpful to break out of those boxes and kind of say like, oh, this is classic, or this is edgy, or this is girly, or this is, masculine. And we shouldn't be afraid to dip into those different things. I do agree that style is very personal, and we should be able to test out new things that we want to until we figure out what we really like and really define, what a style is. But until we get to that point, I see no issue with trying different things and really allowing ourselves to do certain things with it, whether or not, that's the norm or that's normal for you. I think it's cool to break out of your shell a little bit and try different things. I think style is totally personal, and you can test out really anything that you want.
So, so for you, for example, the idea of people categorizing this person has only American style or she's very French, is it making people so confined with a certain idea, right?
Yeah, I do think that it can be confining. Like, oh man, like this person is so, yeah, French style. Like they always dress like this. I think that, if someone like has a style and they really love it and that's what it is, and that is truly what they do all the time. Sure. Like I guess that you could say that yes, that person has very French style or very American style. But I think it can be confining in the sense of like this person is in a box now that we have defined, um, and maybe French style can be more than the classic colors and, very neutral palettes. French style can be much more than that, if we allow ourselves to look around at all the different places in France and see how they dress. And same with American style. Some people might think it's very fleeting or that it just follows the trends and it's gone, but there's a lot of things that are culturally influential. And I think it's interesting to allow ourselves to be, we can be both very classic at times, but we can also try out new trends and be experimental. I think it's cool to break down those boxes and allow yourself to be whatever you feel like being in that day. I
Exactly.
feel like I can say what I think now because I feel so comfortable in what I'm wearing and all that. And now I can say what I think. So I think being comfortable in what you wear is kind of like a first step to being comfortable with who you are.
Exactly. In my regard, for example, Rihanna, I think she's
Hmm.
type of person who actually celebrate herself. Like if she wants to dress edgier or chic or more masculine or anything, like she's not afraid to express herself. No.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, she's definitely an icon for sure. And I think, yeah, she embodies that change in style, while still being very much so Rihanna. So I think there's that constant, but also she's always changing and evolving who she is.
Involving exactly because every time when I see her fashion, it makes me think that we can be whoever we want to be. Like I think she's the type of person who actually embodies that. Uh, her style will keep evolving. Like she's not afraid.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you said it perfectly.
When I watch Rosalia, she's wearing this very long nails, or even Billie Eilish. Like you said,
Hmm.
she's very laid back. They're dressing up. It's like statement, like more powerful than
Yeah.
it. I think that's
Hmm.
the beauty of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like it doesn't have to be beautiful for it to be beautiful at the end.
Yeah.
It can be it can be bold or it can be harsh or anything like that, but it's still, yeah, like you said, making a statement, and that can be important.
I feel like they're not obliged to be this pretty type, only like wearing this. Lady Gaga, she could wear anything she wants and she feel comfortable with it. And I feel like it's her personal statement, like this is me, I'm this kind of person, this is my creativity. And I feel
Hmm.
like it's a beautiful thing to have. Well, actually fashion is a relative thing, but somehow like people who judge, people who only think in a layer that fashion is fashion, how to say it, like fashion is.
This fashion has to be this way, or like, yeah, it's only fashion can only be beautiful, or fashion can only be classic, or fashion can only be elegant. When like really, fashion can be so much more than that.
Exactly, wow, you portray it very good. Yeah, exactly, it's like that. I think it's an important subject to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a lot deeper than yeah, just what you look like. I think it can question, like you said, society and what society thinks about people and what's supposed to be pretty, for example, or what's supposed to be accepted as how we look. Um, but kind of how we were talking about, like it's us who get to decide that.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have any like fashion icon?
Ooh, I mean, this is going to sound so cliche, but of course, Coco Chanel, I think she just broke out of so many boxes of her time. You know, making pants really something that was accessible to women. I think it's very cool. Someone who is so out of the box out of her time. Really think that Billie Eilish is also breaking out of those boxes. You know, she's very much so she's showing up on the red carpet and stuff that I feel like no other celebrity would show up to, and I really enjoy that. That's also a lot of fashion influencers that I follow. For example, Jen M. I'm not sure if you're like familiar with her, but
Yes.
yeah, I feel like, you know, she came out with her own clothing brand in the last few years, and she's really like always doing different styles, and really putting Asian Americans on the market for like um, commercial clothing, which I think is very cool.
Okay. Do you actually care what other people think? Like, what?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Like that's the thing, is that I realize that when I get to that place, and let's say that I didn't wear those shoes that I wanted to wear because they would be too edgy or whatever it is. I get there and I realize like no one is even paying attention. Like no one would really care, and I should just wear what makes me feel good. And I know that in my head, and I think that I definitely like realize like no, I don't even need to care what anyone thinks, because A, no one really cares anyways, but B, it doesn't matter if someone does have an opinion. It is, you know, something that I like to wear, and I don't have to, like we were talking about earlier, explain myself to that person or justify my wardrobe options to them.
Okay. This extravagant clothing or less clothing, it's not my responsibility to explain myself, no?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
As long as it's comfortable for you, you don't need to justify it to people. What?
Yeah, people are much more open to just let them wear what they wear. And even if there is judgment on somebody's part, it's like, I don't care. I'm going to wear it anyways. Just like you said, yeah, if Rihanna wore a fur coat in the middle of summer, like it doesn't matter to her. It doesn't matter like if she's wearing that earlier. I think that social media is kind of opening those like borders up, if that makes sense. It's opening up kind of the trends to be open to all these different places at the same time, rather than traveling much slower as they did like maybe 10 years ago.
So what do you think about like when you say that people got labeled or boxed into certain categories? Like, do you feel like is it something that concern you or something that it doesn't matter for you when people does it to you?
Yeah, I think to me, it's kind of like if someone thinks that of me, I know that they probably don't know me that well. So for me, like, I don't really, it doesn't really bother me if someone thinks that, oh, this person must be this way because I see her dressed this way one time. To me, that opinion doesn't really hold any weight. And I know that the people who truly do know me, they know, how I like to express myself. They know what I like, what I don't like, or what I choose to do. So to me, it doesn't really matter. Like if someone wants to put me in a box, it doesn't matter because I know that that box isn't real. It doesn't really exist for me.
Wow, nice one. I feel like why you should be concerned about the things that it's not important. Like they don't even pay your bills.
Exactly. Yeah. They are not important to me. They don't know you. They aren't important people to you. So I think that, the people who know you the best and who really care about you, they know exactly who you are and how you like to dress. And I think that they would never judge you for dressing the way you want to. So it's really that pressure of, yeah, people I don't know, what are they going to think? But really, that doesn't matter. Like you said, like, yeah, they don't pay the bills.
For me,
Yeah,
for me, it's hilarious when people think that we all have to dress the same or we have to dress the way certain people think we should dress like. Where if it is a freedom of expression or if it is a personal thing, it should be personal. You know?
yeah, and it should be personal. We should be the only ones that are allowed to judge that. And I think obviously we're pretty lucky in that we both live in places where we do have the luxury of being able to buy whatever we want, whatever styles we want, and wear whatever styles we want without being, against the law or, things like that. Obviously, we're very lucky to live in a place where we even get the option um, of having a personal style. But I think if you live in a place where you are lucky enough to have a personal style, we should definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah, because I feel like now it's the time for us to just celebrate people, support people what they want to wear, no?
I agree. I completely agree.
So do you have any favorite quote to empower other, for example?
Yeah, I think you may have posted this on your Instagram account. I'm not sure, but it's Coco Chanel, of course, and it's a girl should be two things, who and what she wants. And I think that that's really powerful. Coco Chanel, of course, did that. And I think it's a great example for all of us. We should do and be exactly who we want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joya, for this interesting conversation. Like, basically, our conversation leads to a mindset where actually fashion is just a personal thing. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take it, you just have fun. Like, if
Yeah.
people, basically, if your friend or anyone that you see wears something that you don't think is relevant, just let them. It's none of our business, no?
Yeah, I totally agree. And thank you so much for having me. You've always been one of my big fashion inspirations ever since I've met you. So I'm really honored to be able to talk with you about fashion today.
Yeah, thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.